The true measure of a nation's power isn't in its military arsenal, but in the walls where its leaders sleep. This observation from a former intelligence officer reveals why countries invest billions in these symbolic structures. However, the challenge with presidential palaces is that they must balance stringent security with democratic transparency to satisfy voters, preserve centuries of history while adopting cutting-edge technology, and project power without appearing wasteful. From a palace that can withstand nuclear attacks to ones that houses its own parliament, court system, and military command center, these 10 complex presidential residences have redefined what it means to be a seat of power in 2025. By the end of this video, you will see how they were constructed to symbolize the ultimate intersection of national identity, security infrastructure, and political influence. Starting with the most fortified presidential palace, the White House, the U.S. presidential residence, which can be described as a fortress in disguise. While more than 83% of Americans have seen images of the White House, only 0.001% have seen its hidden world, including the Situation Room, the presidential living quarters, and the underground bunkers. That's just one person every 100,000 Americans. Surprisingly, the White House has over 35,000 artifacts, yet public tours barely scratch the surface of its historical treasures. When you think of the White House, you likely picture that iconic neoclassical building where presidents wave from the North Portico. But behind its modest exterior lies one of the world's most sophisticated security complexes, a true fortress hiding in plain sight. Though it appears accessible, symbolizing American democracy with its public tours and relatively humble appearance, the reality is far different. The 55,000 square foot structure houses not just 132 rooms, but a complex security apparatus that has evolved dramatically over time. The transformation accelerated after September 11th, when the White House underwent massive security upgrades. Today, bulletproof windows shield the president from external threats, while deep beneath the East Wing sits the Presidential Emergency Operations Center, PEOC, a hardened command post designed to function during national emergencies. Visitors don't see the 3,200-strong Secret Service contingent dedicated to presidential protection, rigorous clearance processes, or the $85 million annual maintenance costs that keep the security machine running. The tour process itself acts as the first layer of defense, requiring U.S. citizens to arrange visits through their congressional representatives and foreign visitors through their embassies. However, a similar level of secrecy surrounds presidential palaces worldwide, where even taking photos can be regarded as a form of espionage. The second presidential palace on our list is by far one of the largest presidential empires, yet it is also the most overlooked. The Rashtrapati Bhavan of India is a 330-acre presidential complex, 18 times the size of the White House and its surroundings. While the White House conceals its formidable security behind a modest exterior, India takes a dramatically different approach with the Rashtrapati Bhavan. This presidential palace doesn't just house India's head of state, it creates an entire self-contained world spanning 330 acres, where 340 rooms across 4 floors are merely the beginning of a complex that functions as its own city-state. The magnitude is staggering. Construction required 700 million bricks in a 17-year building process, costing approximately 2.65 billion rupees, i.e. 30.7 million USD in today's currency. To put this into perspective, building an average house in the USA requires about 7,000 bricks, so this project could construct around 100,000 homes. What began as the Viceroy's residence during British colonial rule has transformed into a symbol of India's independence and growing global influence while still incorporating elements of both colonial and Mughal architectural styles. Unlike other presidential residences that prioritize concealment, Rashtrapati Bhavan flaunts its vastness openly. The complex operates with complete self-sufficiency, housing its own hospital, post office, and dedicated security force. The surrounding Mughal gardens alone cover nearly 77 hectares, which is more than 10 times the area of the Ohio Stadium, showcasing intricate landscape and diverse flora that reflect India's cultural heritage. The palace doesn't just project power through its architecture, it maintains operational independence through comprehensive infrastructure. Advanced communication systems and emergency protocols ensure government continuity during crises. At the same time, the president's bodyguard, a 200-person elite security detail, maintains vigilance through specialized training for both ceremonial duties and crisis response. Beyond security, Rashtrapati Bhavan serves as a dual role as both the government headquarters and a cultural repository. The palace contains museums that showcase historical artifacts and diplomatic gifts, while its grand halls and central dome host state ceremonies that highlight India's political significance on the world stage. Next to the Rashtrapati Bhavan is the most secretive presidential palace in the world, hiding a secret in the underground realm that almost no one knows about. Welcome to the Kremlin of Russia, the command center of a superpower. Unlike Rashtrapati Bhavan, which welcomes the public, the Kremlin presents a paradox. It acts as both a tourist attraction and one of the most heavily restricted military installations on Earth. This 68-acre medieval fortress, which once housed Tsars, now serves as a nerve center for a modern nuclear superpower. The Kremlin's perimeter measures 2.5 kilometers, which is roughly equivalent to the length of 25 football fields lined up end to end. These ancient walls conceal what may be the world's most consequential command center. 1,000 armed soldiers patrol the grounds, ensuring a security presence that does not draw attention from casual visitors admiring the golden domes of the Assumption and Archangel cathedrals. What tourists photograph from Red Square represents merely the visible layer of a complex suspected to contain underground facilities critical to Russia's nuclear command structure. These hidden command centers, integrated beneath centuries-old architecture, enable the Kremlin to function simultaneously as a historical monument and military headquarters. The Grand Kremlin Palace, completed in 1849, serves as the official residence of the president, although Vladimir Putin spends more time at other locations, like his Novo-Ogoryovo estate. Access is tightly controlled through strict security clearance processes, even for visiting foreign dignitaries. From the fortified walls of the Kremlin, we move to a radically different expression of presidential power in the heart of Paris, the Élysée Palace of France, where elegance meets power. While Russia shields its authority behind medieval fortifications, France houses its presidency in what appears to be merely an elegant 18th century mansion. This architectural sleight of hand perfectly embodies the French approach to power: sophisticated, culturally refined, and deceptively formidable. Built between 1718 and 1722, the Élysée Palace massed modern military might beneath neoclassical beauty. The grand ceremonial courtyard welcomes foreign dignitaries through its monumental gate, indicating little that this former home of Madame de Pompadour now serves as a nerve center for nuclear power. Unlike the isolated Kremlin, the palace's central Paris location creates unique security challenges. The Republican Guard maintains visible protection while specialized GIGN forces stand ready for advanced operations. Tourists admiring the formal French gardens don't realize that one of Europe's most sophisticated nuclear command facilities lies beneath this architectural masterpiece. The building's dual function makes it extraordinary, hosting elegant state receptions in rooms of historical grandeur while housing the infrastructure to direct France's nuclear arsenal. This duality perfectly represents France's global approach, projecting power not through intimidation, but through cultural refinement. Leaving European traditionalism behind, we encounter the most audacious presidential residence ever constructed. In 1958, Oscar Niemeyer shattered architectural conventions with Brazil's Palácio da Alvorada, a modernist marvel that appears to float above the Brasilia landscape. Inspired by traditional Brazilian hammocks, its distinctive columns create the illusion of a building hovering effortlessly over its surroundings. This revolutionary design presented unprecedented security challenges. How do you protect a president living in what amounts to a transparent pavilion? The palace's flowing lines and glass walls forced Brazilian security experts to reimagine presidential protection completely. Modern surveillance systems have been seamlessly integrated into the structure, maintaining the building's aesthetic integrity while providing necessary scrutiny. The palace's layout, a rectangular main building with a basement, shaded veranda, and circular chapel connected by a bridge, showcases Niemeyer's commitment to blending indoor and outdoor spaces. This integration with nature reflects his belief that architecture should enhance the human experience rather than just serve functional purposes. An $18 million renovation between 2004 and 2006 further optimized the building while preserving its architectural significance. The palace's position on Lake Paranoa's shores underscores its role as the centerpiece of Brasilia, a planned city embodying Brazil's mid-century aspirations for modernity. From Brazil's transparent architectural statement, we shift to a presidential complex where subtlety gives way to an overwhelming scale and fortress-like presence. When Turkey completed its presidential complex in 2014, it immediately made global headlines, not just for its architecture, but for its staggering $600 million price tag amid the country's economic challenges. This massive structure, which spans 3.2 million square feet, equivalent to approximately 57 football pitches, and contains over 1,100 rooms, is 4 times larger than the Palace of Versailles. Its design draws inspiration from Seljuk architecture, visually linking Turkey's historical heritage while physically demonstrating the nation's contemporary ambitions. Beneath its imposing exterior lies a security infrastructure that reveals military installations. Underground bunkers protect against potential attacks, while sophisticated electronic warfare defenses and anti-drone systems create multiple layers of protection around the presidential quarters. The complex's environmental footprint has proven as controversial as its cost, with significant tree removal during construction drawing criticism from environmental advocates. Even its maintenance requires extraordinary resources. The gardens alone consume approximately 52 million lira, about 6.63 million euros, over just 10 months. Despite economic pressures, the Turkish government continues expanding the presidential estate, with additional palaces under construction. In addition to serving as the president's residence, the complex hosts state functions and diplomatic meetings. It is a physical embodiment of Turkey's approach to power projection, unmistakable in scale, unapologetic in presence, and unwavering in its security posture. While Turkey projects power on an overwhelming scale, Kazakhstan's approach is strikingly different. The Akorda Presidential Palace represents a young nation's deliberate attempt to merge cultural identity with modern governance. Constructed in 2004, this 86-meter-tall structure, which is about the height of a 28-story building, features a distinctive blue and gold dome. It serves not only as a functional headquarters, but also as a powerful cultural statement. The name Akorda, meaning White Headquarters, symbolizes purity and nobility in Turkic tradition. I'm not sure President Theodore Roosevelt borrowed the name White House from Turkey. This palace is unique because it was constructed through an extraordinary international collaboration involving architects and workers from 26 nationalities across 10 countries. This reflects Kazakhstan's diplomatic philosophy of building bridges between East and West. Visitors find a remarkable synthesis of traditional and contemporary elements inside the palace, which covers an area equivalent to about 5 football fields, 36,720 square meters, and has 5 above-ground and 2 underground floors. The ceremonial hall, which spans an impressive 1,800 square meters, about the size of a typical football stadium's end zone, features crystal chandeliers beneath a massive dome designed for diplomatic functions. It showcases Kazakhstan's growing global influence. The interior's circular motifs and ornamental decorations aren't merely aesthetic choices. They are profoundly significant in Turkic culture and serve as visual reminders of Kazakhstan's heritage. This cultural authenticity coexists with sophisticated security systems, creating a palace that balances openness with protection. While Kazakhstan embraces cultural authenticity, Britain's approach to power projection tells an entirely different story. Behind Buckingham Palace's iconic facade lies a tourist attraction and a sophisticated command center where centuries-old traditions mask one of the world's most influential diplomatic machines. The palace's 775 rooms include 92 offices, where the machinery of constitutional monarchy quietly shapes global affairs. What many visitors don't realize is that those ceremonial guards in their elaborate uniforms are elite soldiers authorized to use lethal force if necessary. The Metropolitan Police's specialized royalty protection group works behind the scenes, meticulously planning security for everything from state visits to public engagements. Despite its ceremonial appearance, Buckingham Palace is a restricted access facility. The staterooms are open to the public only during limited periods, and visitors must book well in advance. This controlled access helps maintain the palace's dual role as a tourist destination and working headquarters. The 40-acre gardens behind Buckingham Palace are London's largest private green space. They serve important purposes beyond just being beautiful. Garden parties and state events are well-planned diplomatic occasions showcasing British influence worldwide. The lake, tennis court, and helipad blend tradition with essential features for a modern monarchy. Britain's neat royal gardens lead to our next president's home, an old fortress that defies today's security rules. Prague Castle is the world's largest ancient castle complex, blooming over the Czech capital. As such, it presents a paradox for presidential protection. How do you secure a millennium-old Gothic and Renaissance architecture labyrinth that millions of tourists consider essential viewing? Unlike purpose-built presidential compounds, Prague Castle has evolved organically since the 9th century. Its 70,000 square meters, approximately the size of 10 soccer fields, encompass the president's offices and priceless national treasures, including the Bohemian crown jewels and historical documents fundamental to Czech identity. This creates unique security challenges, protecting both the head of state and irreplaceable cultural artifacts and structures designed centuries before modern threats existed. The Castle Guard maintains this delicate balance, performing both ceremonial functions and implementing sophisticated surveillance throughout the complex. When the president is in residence, certain areas face restricted access, while security protocols intensify during official functions. The castle's extensive gardens and public spaces remain accessible, integrating this seat of power into daily Czech life while specialized security forces monitor the flow of visitors. Modern surveillance technology has been carefully integrated into the ancient stonework, creating invisible security layers that preserve the authentic experience for tourists. While security technology hides within Prague's ancient walls, our next palace doesn't bother with subtlety. It overwhelms with sheer scale. The Forbidden City stretches across Beijing's heart like a vast architectural statement, covering 72 hectares, about the size of 100 football fields, in a perfect rectangle that would take hours to fully explore. This isn't just China's most significant historical site, it's a monument valued at over $70 billion, making it the world's most valuable palace complex. These walls house the supreme power of imperial China for 24 emperors across 2 dynasties. Though no president calls it home today, the complex remains a potent symbol of Chinese influence. Its 980 buildings and 8,886 rooms dwarf every presidential residence we've examined, creating a historical power labyrinth that attracts 14 million visitors annually. The Forbidden City's strategic position near the Great Hall of the People and Tiananmen Square maintains its contemporary relevance. Chinese leaders regularly utilize this extraordinary space for diplomatic functions and ceremonies, reinforcing the connection between China's imperial past and its global ambitions. Access remains tightly controlled, balancing preservation with security concerns. As we've examined the world's most powerful presidential palaces, one thing becomes clear. These structures are far more than mere residences. They are architectural manifestations of national identity and power projection strategies. The evolution of presidential palace design now balances traditional elements with cutting-edge security features, reflecting how nations view their place in the world. From France's historic Élysée Palace, built in 1722, to Kazakhstan's Akorda, with its blend of traditional Kazakh motifs and modern architecture, each structure communicates distinct values through its design choices. Maintenance costs reveal priorities too. Turkey's presidential gardens alone require 55 million lire annually. Meanwhile, security considerations have transformed these buildings into sophisticated fortresses with underground bunkers and advanced surveillance systems while maintaining their public-facing ceremonial functions. These palaces don't just house leaders. They actively shape international relations and domestic governance. Their architecture speaks volumes about how nations perceive themselves and wish to be perceived. In an age of increasing security concerns, how these buildings balance openness with protection provides a fascinating window into global power dynamics that will continue to evolve in the years ahead. Is your country on the list? Let us know what makes your country's presidential house unique. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.